Good morning, day 122. Still in our tropical paradise. We'll be here for a few days. So today, my brain is like, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to slow down. And I'm going to try to weave a few different verses together into one concept because I do think they're all kind of related. And in the coaching world, we use a phrase a lot called trusting the process. Trust the process. Like those of us that have been there before and been through it, we know what it feels like to be in the middle of it and feel like this isn't working. I give up. What is happening? Like I'm working so hard. I'm trying so hard. I'm not getting the results I want. Why am I even doing this? Right? Have you felt that way before? I bet you have. I'm even in the midst of that right now myself. So this is like me even kind of self-coaching. And also even when I'm working in the real estate world and, you're looking for that right house, that it's time to move and it just doesn't seem like the right fit is out there, or in this market, you're not winning the multiple bid option. Anyway, it happens all over the place. And there is a lot of wisdom, as we were told would happen. Look at that, wow. In Proverbs. But this morning we're in chapter 13, and I'm going to hone in on verses 10, 11, and 12. And 10, if I get it right, is talking about the dangers of pride. Pride leads to conflict. Number 2 is that get rich quick schemes. This is my paraphrasing. The wealth from get rich quick schemes don't last, but those that work hard and put the time in, their wealth will be lasting. And then good morning. And verse 12 is about hope deferred. That hope deferred makes a heart sick. So how does this all relate to the process of change and trusting the process? Because, let's even work our way backwards. So verse 13, because that's actually what I did when I was reading it. That kind of caught my attention, and then I went backwards myself. So let's start with the concept of hope deferred. And that comes you are working hard, and you're like, I'm not seeing the results I want. Your expectations may be a little bit out of alignment. Or what also happens is, I might weave all of this in. You've made good progress in one area. Let's say you have, and this is me, you have one big major goal, but you've broken it down into steps. And let's say you're on step 1 and you've okay, I've worked really hard on this. I've nailed it. Maybe you get a little prideful. And then you are okay, time to go on to step 2. But then step 2 doesn't quite happen the way you think it's going to. And then you go back and you're but I've worked so hard. Look what I can do. You get a little prideful about what you've already accomplished. And maybe it has you going too fast onto something else. Or what also happens, and I see this all the time, is you think you've got it licked, and so you kind of just disconnect. You say, I've got this, I don't need your help anymore. And then not just my help, but maybe community help from other people. You just I've got it. That is going back to that middle verse 11, kind of a quick get rich quick scheme. You're like, oh, I got it. I nailed this habit in 30, 60, 90 days. I got it. Thank you very much. Move on with your life thinking that you've nailed it. And then you might fall back into some of your old ways because of your pride and because you think, oh, it's supposed to come quick. You know, I've got these rewards from my get rich quick scheme and get a little prideful. You're impatient and you think you've got it. And then trouble comes, which it says pride leads to conflict. And then you might even start warring within yourself, like, why is this not happening the way I want it to? Why isn't this lasting? Yeah, you can see how these verses can all be related. They're all, one can lead to another, just like it is in the written word. And they are interrelated. Pride causes us to maybe be impatient, seeking fast rewards, and maybe even false rewards. Like, I got the thing I want, but you really haven't done the deeper work to make sure it's a lasting change. You've just focused on maybe surface behaviors, and you've white-knuckled and willed yourself to change. But if it's not like on autopilot, and you get to the point where it just doesn't feel hard anymore, and it's just your lifestyle, then that's where I think pride can set in. Because the person who is after lasting change, when they go through the full process, they learn that humility and humbleness is a requirement. They know they've never got it. And they stay connected and humble and open-minded. They're never too proud to take advice. Throughout chapter 13, there's several verses that focus on the wise heed advice. The wise listen. The wise. So be wise in your journey. And when you catch yourself getting impatient, like I'll use for example, because I am like in the thick of this. When I set out about 5 years ago, I really wanted to get healthy was my main goal. And then health was represented by a lower BMI, a lower weight, more energy. Like I have all these markers in my head and this vision of what life will feel like, what I will sort of look like. I'm not married to a specific number or a size. But I know overall, I just want to be healthier. I want to, take care of my body, all the things. So when I looked at the big picture of all where I was currently, so I had to take a good assessment and measurement of where I was, like we've talked a lot about that here, brutal honesty. You can't go somewhere without knowing where you're starting from. So I had a lot of bad habits. And for me, numero uno was, after looking at all the things, I was like, okay, I've got to put down my wine o'clock habit here. This is not helping the waistline. It's not helping the energy. This is my number one enemy right now. And I've got to change this. And here I am. I'm 2.5 years alcohol free. So that's the other thing I want to talk about here. The difference between not being proud, being humble, but being humble does not mean that you don't celebrate yourself. I think a lot of people out there get the two confused. There is a difference between celebrating yourself, truly yeah, I did this really hard thing. This is worth being celebrated for and even being proud of. But, not taking it too far. It's a real balance of making sure you stay humble, But in order for change to really take root and change our brains, we love reward, and we have got to celebrate ourselves. Otherwise, it's going to be like, what's the point? And pride and being in too much of a hurry, that concept of hope deferred, when your expectations maybe are out of alignment and you don't understand the process and therefore you're rushing it, you're not going to take the time to slow down, take inventory, and celebrate. You're going to be focused on, I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet. You know, like the kid in the backseat, when are we going to get there? Ah! And we're not there. You're totally focused on your future hope, and you're being impatient that you're missing and not celebrating all that you've accomplished and all the progress that you have made. And that's when we let the 5-year-old in the back seat be in the driver's seat versus you being the parent who understands the journey and that it takes time, and we'll get there. Just shh, it's okay. Color in your book. Or they color on their devices now, right? So hopefully that analogy is helping make it more relatable. And now I'm right in the middle of that process of adjusting my expectations. Oh, I realized when I started out on this journey, I thought I would be here at 2.5 years, and I'm not. And how do I deal with this disappointment? Rather than being disappointed, I need to do exactly what I'm talking about. Like, slow down, get humble, celebrate all the progress that I have made and all the changes that I'm making. And that if I stick with it, I maybe make some adjustments to my plan, meet myself where I am. I'm realistic. And then I just stick with it. It will come. So maybe, because this is the first time I've made a whole life transformation, and maybe I looked at somebody else at the beginning of that journey and said, well, it took them 2 years, so it'll take me 2 years. And I'm different. I have a lot of other things that I have inserted into my life that I had no plans of, like building a business as a health and life coach, and still maintaining and serving my real estate clients. Still, so I've actually added some things in to my journey that I'm passionate about and I think is the right thing to do. Even doing this rise and shine thing, like I had no idea what God was putting on my heart to do here. But I know that this is important. My voice went, but I know that this is important, and this is where my focus needs to be. And so if that defers my hope of being a certain weight or size by another year, that's okay. What's happening in this process will help me get there. I'm trusting the process. But in order to do that, I've really got to, because I'm human, like I have these desires and it's like, it's not happening. Shouldn't it just happen? It shouldn't be so hard. Isn't that the other thing we do? Like, why is this so hard? I don't want to work this hard. But hard work, as we learn from verse 11, is where the true reward and lasting wealth comes from. And health is wealth. Because without health, you can't get out there and make any kind of wealth. So sometimes we're just measuring the wrong thing. We talked about that this week or over the weekend. Like, what are you measuring against? Are your expectations in alignment with reality? So if you're in that space of feeling just defeated from that hope deferred, readjust your expectations. Go back. Are you being too prideful? Are you like, I've got this, why this shouldn't be happening? Like, that might be your sign. Maybe you need to humble yourself a little bit and realize that true change, maybe you're relying on surface level behavior and thinking, I got this. Maybe whatever your journey is, even if you're on one, or maybe you're contemplating one, and this will be helpful. This will be a reality check. Like true lasting change, true wealth takes time to build. These get rich quick schemes, these 30-day diets or 30-day, like all the things out there, like, boy, our brain wants that. And we go for it. We fall for it every time. Oh yeah, I'm going to do all this and we'll go all in. And maybe we do. And maybe we even achieve the thing. Check in with that person 30 or 60 days after that and see if they have maintained it. To me, like in our impatient society, what we call success is maybe hitting that 30-day mark. Just intense workouts, intense dieting, intense workaholism, whatever it is. And then we go, oh, it's done. And then we go right back. Like nothing has changed. Is that success? Is it? I don't think so. So that's even part of my own mindset that I've done is like, hey, how are you? Is redefining what success means. And it means putting a whole new person and a lifestyle in there on autopilot. And after my whole adult life and even into childhood, of 40 years of doing things one way on my default settings and trying to install new programming, it takes a while. It takes a while. So don't be prideful, but do celebrate. Like that is an important distinction. You need to celebrate yourself. And because that is what's going to keep you on the path, still feeling hopeful, but enjoying where you are in the journey, because you're constantly going, oh, and for example, in a situation, you can afterwards reflect. And this is where journaling and meditation and all of these practices that you hear people talk about, this is where that happens, because you're setting aside intentional, mindful time to go, oh, wow, I just went to this event and I came home and I didn't stuff myself. I didn't overindulge. I was present with people. I really remember all the conversations. I learned something new. Gosh, a couple of years ago, I would have totally just been focused on my anxiety and my social anxiety, how can I avoid talking to people because they'll think I'm dumb, and how quickly can I get to the bar and the buffet table and stuff myself. Like, that's celebrating, like giving yourself really good credit. It's not prideful. So there's a real difference between pridefulness and celebration. And we've got to constantly celebrate ourselves and give our brain, because it needs that reward. It needs to know. And it's real. Like, these are real things. You really are showing. But when you're in the thick of it and it's your normal every day, we're just coming out of a pandemic. How quickly did we get used to wearing masks? And we even using the phrase new normal. It wasn't a big deal after a while. And so we forget. We humans are built to adapt quickly. And we are also built with this biology of desire, always wanting the next thing. Okay, I got it. Now let's go on. And that's a good thing for our actual physical survival. If we didn't have desire, we wouldn't procreate, we wouldn't eat, we wouldn't do much. We'd just lay around, So the biology of desire that literally drives us on a daily basis. And then if we always remembered things as they were, and we didn't adjust and we didn't have resilience, we would walk around traumatized all the time, like not being able to get past our past. And So there's a balance there, but understanding how your brain works and working with it can help you in the journey. So when you catch yourself feeling defeated, it's not happening quick enough, like that should actually be a sign, oh, I need to slow down. I need to journal. I need to celebrate myself. I need to encourage myself to stick with it and not rush the process, and realize that I actually have made progress, because your brain will try to tell you you haven't when you really have. And it takes time, and there is no I'm going to be the bearer of bad news here. There is no shortcutting the process. There isn't. It took you however many years to get where you are. It might take a few years to get out of it. So I hope this message is encouraging. It was encouraging for me because I've been in a little bit of a funk myself recently, because I'm like, I should have be somewhere further along or in a different spot. So I had to remind myself, oh yeah, you slid in these whole new things. You slid in a whole new career, girl. You went to school. You got like a degree, a certification in this time. Like, hello. It takes time to build a business. You can't do all of the things. So celebrating myself for all I've done, not with pride, not thinking I'm all that in a bag of chips. So it's this balance, and that's like, it's right there in Proverbs. We've had this advice for thousands of years, and yet we still walk around trusting our own brains. And really, when you understand that you have two brains, you have two guidance systems. One that you need to heed because it keeps you physically alive and doing things, and we've got to take care of that, but that can't be in the driver's seat. We need to listen to it. We need to pay attention to it. We need to heed its warnings sometimes and take it into, but it all needs to be filtered through the higher brain. And that's the wisdom part that God guides us with, and that where he invites us in and shows us that we have two different systems that are very important, but we need to listen to the higher executive brain and not just the survival brain. So anyway, I think that's long enough. Hopefully I weaved that all together fairly well. It was a great reminder for me personally. And this is not a sales pitch, because there's lots of good coaches out there, but this is actually what a coach does for you. And I have two great coaches right now, actually three. And they help remind me of these principles when my brain wants to just go, I don't want to work this hard anymore. Just be happy with where you are and just go back to, enjoying life this way. And that's good enough. Yeah, that's the one that comes into my brain a lot. It's good enough. And it wants to just check out and go lay by a pool. So this is not easy stuff, but it's worth it. And this is what God is calling you to celebrate yourself without being prideful, to work hard, to trust the process, and don't give up hope. Maybe readjust your expectations so that your hope can be sustained and a motivating factor and not something that is demotivating. All right, my friends, go rise and shine. It's a beautiful day here in the tropics.